You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Ann Makovic. We are going to have much more news coming up right after our news headlines this morning. President Trump saying that he is deploying the National Guard in Washington, D.C. and placing their police under federal control. He says he is doing this to tackle homelessness and crime in the nation's capital. That is despite a decrease in crime in recent years. Police data shows violent crime is down 26% year over year, and homicides are down 12%. Protesters demonstrated near the White House.
This is not about crime. This is about control.
Safety is ICE out of our neighborhoods, our schools, our libraries, our construction sites, and our communities. Safety is ICE out of D.C.
President Trump is enforcing a part of D.C.'s Home Rule Act that temporarily gives him power over the mayor to take over the police. The legal battle over President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles is underway in a courtroom in San Francisco. The president deployed thousands of troops in June in response to protests against immigration raids, despite Governor Newsom's objections. The state says that move broke federal law by using the military for civilian policing. There is a small makeshift memorial outside a restaurant in Burlingame where a car crash killed a 4-year-old boy and injured his 6-year-old sister. Police say the sedan drove onto the sidewalk on Donnelly Avenue at around 6:30 Friday night and hit those children after an e-bike collided with the car. The car then crashed into the Truffle Bar restaurant.
We were walking by and we saw all the commotion. We're just absolutely heartbroken when we heard everything.
We just brought over flowers in memory of a little boy who lost his life. Somebody so young, to hear that happen, I just know that would tear a family apart, and it's just truly heartbreaking.
The police say the 19-year-old driver stayed on the scene and is cooperating with investigators. They say neither drugs nor alcohol appear to be factors. One person is dead and 2 others are in the hospital after a shooting in Hayward. This is Citizen App video from the scene at around 7 last night. It happened at an apartment building on Gating Road near Huntwood Way. Not clear yet from police if anybody has been arrested. And today is the last day of service for Avelo Airlines at the Santa Rosa Airport. The budget carrier plans to eventually shut down all West Coast service. This is happening amid backlash over Avelo's deportation flights for the federal government. Avelo says the West Coast closure is a business decision and is not tied to its contract with Homeland Security. All right, let's get a check on our first alert forecast for a fresh work week ahead. Jessica Birch tells us what we can expect.
What a beautiful way to kick off this week's forecast. It's still warm and sunny in our inland areas this afternoon with 90s all the way over in Antioch and Livermore. Throughout the Tri-Valley area, yeah, it's hot today. You make your way up into the North Bay, though. Let's give some love all the way up into Santa Rosa and Novato. We're mostly just seeing upper 70s and lower 80s throughout that whole region, including the Napa Valley. Let's head over to San Francisco now. 60s in store for us today in SF. You make your way along the coast while we cool down even more with cloudy skies near Half Moon Bay. On the opposite end of the peninsula, Redwood City along 101 warms up into the mid-70s, and you continue to warm up the more south you go along 101 into the Santa Clara Valley. 80s this afternoon, anywhere from Los Gatos all the way over into San Jose. But we do have some changes in the forecast for us. For example, sunnier skies each day this afternoon, still cool and drizzly along the coast with those clouds really wanting to hold on tight to us into the afternoon hours. I mean, this is just around 1 o'clock. We continue to see those clouds pull in from the north, and then into the early morning hours tomorrow, we'll repeat exactly what we had today, and including the winds too. I mean, we started off this morning nice and light, but it does start to kick up as early as lunchtime. About 20-mile-per-hour wind gust in areas like Fairfield, back all the way into San Francisco as we head into the evening hours tonight. It strengthens even more along the Delta, so expect dry conditions, breezy conditions, and warm temperatures. Those 3 key ingredients, well, of course, it allows for fire weather conditions. So we just want to be careful in those inland spots that have been dealing with dry conditions pretty much the whole summer here in the Bay. Now, as we head into the next couple days, we're going to see a nice little bit of a cool down. Mid-80s, low 80s as early as Tuesday heading into Wednesday, and then we jump right back up into the 90s by Friday with sunny skies lasting into this weekend's forecast. Let's head over into the Bay real fast, though. Places like San Francisco and Oakland, mostly upper 60s and lower 70s. We'll have more on that coming up in a bit.
Heads up for BART riders. Starting today, the transit agency is tweaking its schedule. It is all part of the Bay Area's so-called Big Sink. Local transit agencies updating their schedules at the same time in an effort to cut wait times. Bart says some trains are now leaving a few minutes earlier or later, so do check the schedule. Bart says riders could save up to 20 minutes per trip. This comes as AC Transit is overhauling its service in the East Bay. The transit agency says its shakeup impacts 85% of its bus lines. As Dahlin shows us, the changes are catching some passengers off guard.
The best way to see if your bus is affected is to check the AC Transit website. Another way, check your bus stop. All the impacted stops have new signs showing which lines were removed, which were added. In this case, this bus stop has been moved to a different street. Every Sunday, Oakland resident Rosemarie Kiamba takes the 33 bus to work. It was supposed to arrive at her downtown stop at 11:30 a.m. But 25 minutes later, still no bus.
Maybe it came earlier than expected, or maybe it didn't come at all, and I'm still waiting here. I'm still waiting for the next scheduled bus.
She had no idea about the major AC Transit changes that started on Sunday, and she didn't check the sign at her stop. She was just so used to her routine, but there it was. The sign said the 33 line is discontinued.
I wish I looked at the sign earlier because I just saw the 88 go by, and if I had known, I would have hopped on it. But honestly, it's a learning experience. You learn, and now I know. And hopefully, when I go to work, they'll be okay.
Running late for work, she hopped into a rideshare. That's why AC Transit is urging its 3 million monthly riders to check their routes and plan ahead.
We certainly knew that we were dealing with fewer riders, and that also meant we're dealing with less resources. We simply can't afford to operate the same number of buses that we did prior to 2020. So what we're doing is, after 2 years, we found out how to best utilize the money that we have.
Under the realigned service changes, nearly 85% of their routes, 104 lines from Richmond to Fremont, will see adjustments. Some lower ridership routes are cut. Lines with high demand will get more frequent service or new routes. It's a response to hybrid and remote work trends and ongoing budget problems.
Right now, we're at 85% capacity. Again, about 15% decline from where we were pre-pandemic.
72 is not coming.
Transit officials say some riders, like this man, will have to find a new bus line due to discontinued service. Some will have longer waits. That's why they're asking people to allow extra time, especially as many East Bay students return to school on Monday.
I don't understand all the changes, but, I guess they gotta do them.
No, I don't get frustrated. Life is too short.
Just gotta be patient.
Just have to be patient.
Rosemarie says losing her route is frustrating, but she still believes in public transit.
Also, it's really expensive to have a car, especially with parking costs.
AC Transit officials say if they get more money later on, they can always bring back the cut routes and add more frequency. Now, state lawmakers are talking about a regional tax measure to help fund all Bay Area transit agencies, but nothing is final yet.
Yeah, so AC Transit is facing a $41.5 million budget deficit. They say that they are dipping into their reserves right now to cover that deficit this fiscal year. The new school year underway in Oakland starting today with the change in leadership. New Superintendent Dr. Denise Sadler took the reins on July 1st. She is replacing Kyla Johnson Trammell, who was ousted after holding that position for 8 years.
And to see the changes in the schools, the new playgrounds, the colors of the school, I am so thrilled and excited about school starting.
There are 77 elementary, middle, and high schools in the Oakland Unified School District. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, there is so much trash spilling onto the street. Some cars have to swerve out of the way. And neighbors tell us this encampment is only getting worse.
We shouldn't have to live like this. As taxpayers, we shouldn't have to see this. Something needs to be done.
Plus, how a business that builds furniture from scraps is fighting to stay open after being gutted by fire.
When I saw Former in Flames, I saw Dreams in Flames.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
What a beautiful way to kick off this week's forecast. All throughout our inland areas, yeah, it's sunny and it's warm too. I mean, we're talking about upper 80s in store for us today. A similar trend tomorrow before this little bit of a cool down as we head into our midweek forecast. Don't get used to it though, because then high pressure builds in and we warm right back up into the 90s by this Friday. Heading into this weekend, it'll be nice and sunny in those inland areas. You make your way over into the coast and the bay. Temperatures, of course, are a little bit cooler. We're flirting back and forth with 60s and 70s this week. Partly cloudy skies in the morning, sunshine heading into the afternoons.
Neighbors in the East Bay becoming increasingly frustrated about a growing homeless encampment there. They're saying trash and debris are spilling out onto the streets on the daily, and some say it is just dangerous for those trying to get around. This is on MacArthur Boulevard near 106th Avenue. That is about a block from 580. Amanda Harry spoke with people in the area who say enough is enough.
A street in East Oakland looks more like a trash dump than a major thoroughfare. Broken down RVs and debris spilling into traffic.
We shouldn't have to live like this.
Stacy lives in East Oakland and frequents Sports Page, a bar just feet away from the encampment. She says in the last few years, it's continued to get worse.
The smell is horrific. It's the smell, and then there's rats, rodents, so the rats are coming across the street.
She worries about the health and safety hazards. She claims you can't use the sidewalk, and some cars and buses have to swerve out of the way of the trash.
It's been close calls. I've seen it. It's been close calls because you can see it. There, you have to go out into the street. It's encroaching on into the incoming traffic.
And those living in the encampment know the residents aren't happy.
We're all looking for places to go instead of here.
Tila Hardy has lived in this area for a few years. She tried to get housing, but says they won't let her take her dogs, who have become like family, and protect her while she's lived on the streets. She says she tries to be a good neighbor and keeps her space clean, but not everyone does the same.
It's so hard. And the garbage man always says, okay, if you put your trash here, we'll come pick it up every week. But they don't do it. They never do it. So we're left trying to figure out where to throw trash. I see people putting trash on the streets. I hate that.
Newly elected city council member for the area, Ken Houston, says he won't stand for the mess anymore.
What's happening in our streets for the last 5-6 years is ridiculous. Our kids, our seniors have to walk, you saw it, walk in the streets, have to cars, or have to go around trash and go around what? These encampments, they're blocking the sidewalk. I'm changing all that. Enough is enough.
Houston plans to introduce an encampment abatement plan at a city council committee meeting on September 10th. But before that, he's taking action at this area of MacArthur Boulevard.
I'm gonna come and start cleaning up certain areas with Public Works next week, and then I'm gonna start tagging and having those RVs tagged next 6-7 weeks. Watch how it looks. Watch how it looks.
He says Measure W, which was passed by voters in Alameda County to address homelessness, will help fund some of the changes. But for Stacy and others in the area, it can't come fast enough.
As taxpayers, we shouldn't have to see this. Something needs to be done.
California's largest wildfire of the year keeps growing on the Central Coast, forcing new evacuation warnings and filling the air with smoke. The Gifford fire in San Luis Obispo has reached more than 185 square miles. That is bigger than the size of the city of San Jose. Those around Santa Margarita Lake now under evacuation warnings. The fire has injured 10 people, including 7 firefighters, destroyed 2 homes, and it is threatening almost 3,000 more. And here in Northern California, evacuation orders have been downgraded to warnings for some people who live in Lake County. The ardent fire broke out Saturday afternoon around the north side of Clear Lake. It burned 26 acres. 2 buildings were destroyed. Firefighters have stopped forward progress there. Firefighters in Yuba County have made progress on the Ponderosa fire. That one forced multiple evacuations yesterday in the foothills of Oregon House. No structures have been damaged. A business in San Francisco is trying to figure out what to do next after a fire tore through their studio. Former in the Soma neighborhood prides itself on giving people second chances. It provides jobs, sometimes to formerly incarcerated people, to help create custom furniture out of salvaged material from construction sites. Now, as Max Darrow shows us, Former is looking for a second chance of its own.
This is where I work.
It's been a little over a week since Angel Cuesta swiped through these photos.
It still feels fresh.
The images ignite emotions.
It was just hard to see.
Memories.
The smell.
And a painful reality.
When I saw Former in flames, I saw dreams in flames.
His workplace in Soma, called Former, caught fire in mid-July. It was a studio where Cuesta and his co-workers gave wood and waste from construction sites new purpose, using the materials to create beautiful furniture and home decor. Simultaneously, it was a place where people would reclaim their lives.
It's not just a job, it's my second home.
Cuesta lost his job at the beginning of the pandemic. He's a DACA recipient, and 5 years ago, Former's founder, Sasha Plotitsa, found a place for him.
I told Sasha my story, about being undocumented, facing different challenges, and now being able to aspire to a better job with the background and the career that I have.
It's hard to see what I'm seeing.
When Plotitsa looks at his current reality,
I can really smell it here.
He doesn't just see the remnants of his business.
The art, the pieces.
He sees a mission that has come to an abrupt end.
That's really difficult to think about.
He is proud to employ people who have trouble finding work, those who are formerly incarcerated, homeless, or have other disadvantages like Cuesta.
There are a lot of obstacles to starting their lives over again. If they can't be employed here, where are they going to go?
At this point, his studio will be closed for at least several months.
It's going to set us back, but maybe there are other businesses that will be inspired to do similar work. Hopefully we'll be able to start over.
Plotitsa is hopeful the community will help give Former a second chance. Whether through an online fundraiser, physical donations, or words of encouragement, he says support from friends and strangers is making a difference in navigating uncertainty.
It makes it a little bit easier to move forward.
Just like in the shop, we have to maintain the house.
Cuesta has a temporary plan. He had another job as a delivery driver, and as he navigates possible next steps, that will sustain him. But he is holding out hope that Former does get a second chance.
I hope it doesn't close down. I hope Sasha could bounce back. But if not, I plan to continue doing some of my art.
He'd like to see the mission rise from the ashes.
The good that we were doing, not only for the planet, but for the people.
And reclaim its place in the city.
The fire department still investigating the cause of that fire. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. The Trump administration getting tough on homelessness. Why mental health advocates say it's criminalizing mental illness.
We're talking about 20 to 30 mile per hour winds up into our inland spots where relative humidity is pretty low. And then on top of that, temperatures are warm. So those key ingredients could allow for fire weather conditions. So we just want to be very careful as we head into this week's forecast. Luckily, we're going to experience a little bit of a cool down this week as we head into our midweek forecast, but still holding on tight to cloudy skies along the coast with a little bit of mist in the forecast too. Here's what I'm talking about when it comes to that midweek cool down. Now, low pressure is going to dip its way in. That brings in more clouds, stronger winds from offshore, and those temperatures jump from the 80s. Well, they're still in the 80s, but upper 80s all the way into the low 80s, from 89 degrees to 82 degrees within 2 days alone. But then high pressure starts creeping back in from the Pacific actually this time, and that's what's going to bring in some sunnier weather and 90s right around the corner as we kick off this weekend. So a cool down into the midweek forecast, a warm up into the weekend forecast for our inland spots. Now, you don't really notice it that much when it comes to our microclimates along the bay. We're dealing with different influences, and so really what we're just going to see is just upper 60s and lower 70s throughout most this week, with a little bit of a warm up diving into this weekend. Sunnier skies right around the corner by Friday. Over to you.
President Trump's deployment of federal forces to our nation's capital is the latest move by his administration to try to tackle homelessness. Just last month, Trump issued an executive order that defines homelessness and mental illness as a crime and safety issue and focuses on law enforcement as a solution. All of this is raising concerns for a group here in the Bay Area. They're at the forefront of mental health advocacy in the East Bay. As John Ramos shows us, advocates with FASME say this is the wrong approach.
For years now, a group called FASME, Families Advocating for the Seriously Mentally Ill, have been asking government to address the issue of mental illness. Now, it looks like that's happening, but not in the way they were hoping for. FASME has been at the forefront of mental health advocacy in the East Bay, staging protests in Alameda County over the lack of treatment at the Santa Rita jail, where most people in crisis end up.
People don't understand. If you haven't lived with it, you don't understand the complexity of serious mental illness.
Margot Daschle has a sister who's living on the streets with a mental illness, so you'd think she might be happy about President Trump's executive order that includes, quote, shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment to restore public order.
If one looks at it superficially, oh, this is humane, but if you go into it, you see that it's penalizing, and not promoting treatment.
The women of FASME all share the struggle of having a loved one with a serious mental illness. They've criticized local governments for being hands-off when it comes to treatment, and ironically have even advocated that some compulsory treatment may be necessary. But the simplistic language of the executive order has them concerned.
We don't need an administration that is as provenly callous towards the vulnerable as this one to be forcing our kids into places that are not designed to treat them, that are not designed to support them. That is the fear, that they will they'll criminalize an illness.
The order portrays homelessness and mental illness as a crime and safety issue and focuses on law enforcement as a solution. Allison Monroe had an adoptive daughter who died of a fentanyl overdose while living on the streets.
If they defined her as an offender, they might put her in jail forever. And I wouldn't have any say about it or any way of finding out what's going on. So I would not want this kind of system implemented anywhere near the many places in the Bay Area where my daughter used to hang out.
The history of government's involvement with mental illness is a dark one. For much of the early 20th century, patients were locked away in insane asylums that became known as snake pits. That changed starting in the 1960s.
When the asylums closed, people were supposed to have robust treatment within the community. That didn't happen. People wound up on the streets. So it's like a pendulum that swings from one extreme to the other, and it swung all the way to the side of neglect, and now we're afraid he's going to take us back there, rather than saying, what are the targeted ways that we can improve the system we have now?
The pendulum is indeed swinging with a force that is hard to predict. But so far, the simple answers to problems as complicated as homelessness and mental illness aren't giving those with a personal connection much room for hope.
We shouldn't have to live like this as taxpayers.
Some of the advocates are also adding that without more mental health hospitals, homeless people might be treated the same way undocumented immigrants are, sent to makeshift camps. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, organizers of the popular Sunset Night Market suddenly canceled the event this year, citing funding and planning issues. How a different community group is spearheading an effort to create a similar event.
Really wanted to iron out what works best, what events, how this should look for the community.
And we're trying to work with everybody in the neighborhood to make sure it's successful for everybody.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us this Monday. Here is another look at some of our news headlines. President Trump says he is deploying the National Guard in Washington, D.C. and placing their police under federal control. He says he's doing this to tackle homelessness and crime in the nation's capital. That is despite a decrease in crime in recent years. Police data shows violent crime is down 26% over last year, and homicides are down 12%. President Trump is enforcing a part of D.C.'s Home Rule Act, which temporarily gives him power over the mayor to take over the police. There is a small makeshift memorial outside a restaurant in Burlingame where a car crash killed a 4-year-old boy and injured his 6-year-old sister. Police say a car drove onto the sidewalk on Donnelly Avenue at around 6:30 Friday night and hit the children after an e-bike had collided with the car. The car then crashed into the Truffle Bar restaurant. Police say the 19-year-old driver stayed on the scene and is cooperating with investigators. They say neither drugs nor alcohol appear to be factors. And one person is dead, 2 others in the hospital after a shooting in Hayward. This is Citizen App video from that scene at around 7 last night. Happened at an apartment building on Gating Road near Huntwood Way. Still waiting for an update from police on whether or not anyone's been arrested. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast for the work week ahead. Here is meteorologist Jessica Birch.
What a beautiful way to kick off this week's forecast. It's still warm and sunny in our inland areas this afternoon with 90s all the way over in Antioch and Livermore. Throughout the Tri-Valley area, yeah, it's hot today. You make your way up into the North Bay, though. Let's give some love all the way up into Santa Rosa and Novato. We're mostly just seeing upper 70s and lower 80s throughout that whole region, including the Napa Valley. Let's head over into San Francisco now. 60s in store for us today in SF. You make your way along the coast while we cool down even more with cloudy skies near Half Moon Bay. On the opposite end of the peninsula, Redwood City along 101 warms up into the mid-70s, and you continue to warm up the more south you go along 101 into the Santa Clara Valley. 80s this afternoon, anywhere from Los Gatos all the way over into San Jose. But we do have some changes in the forecast for us. For example, sunnier skies each day this afternoon, still cool and drizzly along the coast with those clouds really wanting to hold on tight to us into the afternoon hours. I mean, this is just around 1 o'clock. We continue to see those clouds pull in from the north, and then into the early morning hours tomorrow, we'll repeat exactly what we had today, and including the winds too. I mean, we started off this morning nice and light, but it does start to kick up as early as lunchtime. About 20-mile-per-hour wind gust in areas like Fairfield, back all the way into San Francisco as we head into the evening hours tonight. It strengthens even more along the Delta, so expect dry conditions, breezy conditions, and warm temperatures. Those 3 key ingredients, well, of course, it allows for fire weather conditions. So we just want to be careful in those inland spots that have been dealing with dry conditions pretty much the whole summer here in the Bay. Now, as we head into the next couple of days, we're going to see a nice little bit of a cool down. Mid-80s, low 80s as early as Tuesday heading into Wednesday, and then we jump right back up into the 90s by Friday with sunny skies lasting into this weekend's forecast. Let's head over into the Bay real fast, though. Places like San Francisco and Oakland, mostly upper 60s and lower 70s. We'll have more on that coming up in a bit.
New hope for a popular night market in San Francisco. The monthly event in the Sunset neighborhood was suddenly canceled earlier this year, citing funding and planning issues. The announcement came as a recall effort against the Sunset District Supervisor. Joel Engardio was ramping up the timing, prompting accusations that politics were at play. But now, as Kenny Choi shows us, a different organization is stepping in with an effort to create a similar event that's hoping to keep everyone happy.
Smokin' D's Barbecue started as a pop-up, but has expanded into its first brick-and-mortar storefront on Irving Street.
We take our slow smoked brisket, we stuff it into a traditional Chinese milk bread, so you get this like amazing sweet and savory umami. It's delicious.
Lorena Chu says the now canceled Sunset Night Market, which brought in an estimated 20,000 people last year, was great for restaurants like hers, but a letdown for others.
Things like the banks, the hair salons, the dry cleaners, things like that, where they need to have car access. They were closing the streets at 8 a.m. It really affected their business.
Chu and other small businesses are now banding together to create a smaller event called Sunset After Dark, while addressing concerns from other merchants.
This iteration, we're making it a lot smaller, and then we're not closing the streets down till pretty late in the afternoon, so it allows for a quicker setup and still allows access to all of those businesses.
Rob Iavao, an organizer with the nonprofit Dear Community that's putting on this event, wants it to be for the community and small businesses without relying on any city funding.
With the cancellation of the Sunset Night Market, I think the merchants along Irving Street saw that there was a gap that needed to be filled, and for them it was about how can we build up a community event that is grassroots.
Angie Pettit of Sunset Mercantile, which canceled this year's market, says the decision was a funding and logistical issue.
There's nothing political about our decision to put a pause on it. Really wanted to iron out what works best, what events, how this should look for the community, and that takes time to iron out.
Chu, meanwhile, is focused on running her business and creating an event that helps her neighbors too.
We're trying to work with everybody in the neighborhood to make sure it's successful for everybody.
No politics, just food, community, and business.
A supervisor in Guardio previously said that the Sunset Night Market was canceled, quote, not because of lack of interest, but because the recall campaign poisoned local politics. He told us that he is supporting this community-led effort. The Sunset After Dark event is set to take place Friday, September 26th. After 3 days and nights of live music, Outside Lands is wrapped up at Golden Gate Park. About 75,000 people were expected at the festival each day. Organizers say more than 100 artists performed across 7 stages throughout the weekend, with big names like Tyler, the Creator, Doja Cat, and Hozier as headliners. Lots to eat over the weekend, too. More than 150 local restaurants and other businesses has had booths there. The city estimates that the event generated $70 million for the economy. The festival also big on sustainability. Last year, they say they diverted 89% of waste from landfills. The polo field at Golden Gate Park is going to stay busy this coming weekend. Zach Bryan performing Friday afternoon with Kings of Leon. Tickets start at $200. It does mean more road closures along Middle Drive and stretches of JFK Drive. Roads are set to reopen by next Wednesday. August marks Transgender History Month, and we are spotlighting a new book that uncovers the rich history of San Francisco's transgender district and the vibrant community that has thrived there for more than a century. Author and activist Reverend Dr. Megan Rohrer traces trans history in the Tenderloin and Market Street back to the 1800s, sharing rare photos and stories once hidden in the archives. The book preserves the voices of trans elders, offering a record of resilience and joy in the face of ongoing challenges. Rohrer hopes it becomes a guide and source of pride for the next generation.
My goal is that these photos will be so much more accessible for anyone who's looking for them, either at a public library where they check it out or at a local bookstore where they can keep it as their own, but they don't have to travel the country to different archives to find these really historic photos.
You can watch the full story airing tonight, 5 o'clock on our evening edition. Coming up, that giant violet egg that mysteriously appeared at Thrive City is apparently almost ready to hatch. We have some hints about what could be inside.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
What a beautiful way to kick off this week's forecast. All throughout our inland areas, yeah, it's sunny and it's warm too. I mean, we're talking about upper 80s in store for us today. A similar trend tomorrow before this little bit of a cool down as we head into our midweek forecast. Don't get used to it though, because then high pressure builds in and we warm right back up into the 90s by this Friday. Heading into this weekend, it'll be nice and sunny in those inland areas. You make your way over into the coast and the bay. Temperatures, of course, are a little bit cooler. We're flirting back and forth with 60s and 70s this week. Partly cloudy skies in the morning, sunshine heading into the afternoons.
All right, bird watchers, that giant violet egg that suddenly showed up outside Chase Center is going to be hatching at halftime tonight. Golden State Valkyries dedicated tonight as Bird Watcher Night. That gold speckled egg mysteriously appeared at Thrive City last week atop a small bed of feathers. As for what could be inside, here's what some of the Valkyries players guessed.
Let me guess what can be in this egg. I don't know, some chocolate probably, because I'm hungry, so I'm thinking about chocolate.
A Valkyrie.
Okay.
I think it's that big fat W, okay? Dubs.
The egg up there, breakfast.
I think there's a family in the egg.
It will look good with the Valkyries.
I think it's kind of bird, first of all. It's gonna be purple, probably. That's pretty much it. Probably some candy or some sweets, chocolate, something like that. I don't know.
What's in the egg? A dinosaur.
Well, keep in mind, the team still does not have a mascot, so the team could stick with Norse mythology and unveil a falcon commonly associated with the goddess Freya. Ravens are also a big possibility, with the pair belonging to Odin, who is known as the All-Father. All right, the mystery continues for a few more hours. The Valkyries taking on the Connecticut Sun at Valhalla tonight as the team continues their push for the playoffs. You can watch it live. Pix Plus, 44 Cable 12. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:30. Football is back, and the 49ers kicked off their preseason over the weekend. They fell to the Broncos 30-9. As Matt Lively shows us, there was a long-awaited post-game reunion on the field at Levi's.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
The 49ers played their preseason opener Saturday night at Levi's Stadium. San Francisco sat pretty much all of their projected starters for week one, but the faithful that did stick around until the end of the game did get to see Law and Warner on the field together again.
Take care of that girl and Bobo. Yeah, you too, boy.
One player who did play Saturday for the Niners was defensive back Chase Lucas. He had 8 tackles, a pass breakup, and pressured Denver's #1 quarterback Bo Nixon into an incompletion in the end zone to force a safety.
I just had a blitz to the strong side, and I don't think Nick see me, and he got rid of it just in time because I was gonna get his. Shout out to them for getting a dub, but I think that we put a stain on their first team offense for a little bit.
I'm Matt Lively with the Red and Gold Report.
Training camp continues today at Levi's, and that is providing a chance for players to make an impression and land a job. Matt introduces us to wide receiver Isaiah Hodgkins, who grew up in Walnut Creek.
I felt, kind of called to leave New York this past offseason, and the Niners were one of the first teams to hit my agent up. So, it made a lot of sense, and I was happy with that, obviously, being from here.
Hodgkins is a Bay Area guy, attending Berean Christian, where he became a 4-star recruit. And for the first time in the Red and Gold, he gets to play in front of his hometown crowd.
I was super excited. My family and I, just being from here, it means a lot. So being able to play in front of family and friends, it means a lot.
Hodgkins is no stranger to fighting for a roster spot. He spent 4 seasons between the Bills and Giants after being a late draft pick in 2020.
Control what I can to show, the coaches up there that I'm a hard-nosed kid who's, going to learn this playbook, and I'm going to go out there and hit and block and do what I got to do, get dirty.
Football is in his blood. His dad, James, was a 7-year vet and a Super Bowl champion with the Rams, which has skewed Isaiah's football fandom. The big question growing up, were you a Niners fan or a Raiders fan?
Is actually a funny question. My dad played, so I was really a fan of whoever he played with. But whenever he, retired and we came back, it was kind of tough. All my grandparents and people were Raiders fans, but a lot of my mom's side were all Niners fans.
You ever make any trips out to Candlestick and take in games as a kid?
Yeah, I actually got some pictures of some old Packers games, Packers at the Niners and stuff, at the game. So it's surreal being here now.
Playing at Levi's Stadium is just one of the many things he's excited about as he returns back to the Bay Area.
Just all the Mexican food out here, man. I'm a big Mexican food fan. I've been out on the East Coast for a while, so they got a lot of different types of Cuban and stuff, but they don't have that authentic Mexican food like the West Coast has. So if you got any local spots or stuff to send me, let me know.
Next up for the Niners, they're hitting the road to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Kickoff 1 p.m., and you can watch that game on KPIX and streaming on Paramount+. Paramount just landed a knockout deal, apparently. Paramount Plus is going to become the exclusive U.S. home for all UFC events starting next year. $7.7 billion deal, dropping the pay-per-view model, giving subscribers access at no extra cost. Paramount is, by the way, the parent company of CBS. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, a quirky commuting tradition returning to the Bay Area after being stuck in Park for years. Now, the popular program back in high gear, how it's helping save money and beat traffic.
Really excited to see this coming back. The ease of it, the flexibility of it, and honestly, the cost effectiveness of it.
We're talking about 20 to 30 mile per hour winds up into our inland spots where relative humidity is pretty low. And then on top of that, temperatures are warm. So those key ingredients could allow for fire weather conditions. So we just want to be very careful as we head into this week's forecast. Luckily, we're going to experience a little bit of a cool down this week as we head into our midweek forecast, but still holding on tight to cloudy skies along the coast with a little bit of mist in the forecast too. Here's what I'm talking about when it comes to that midweek cool down. Now, low pressure is going to dip its way in. That brings in more clouds, stronger winds from offshore, and those temperatures jump from the 80s. Well, they're still in the 80s, but upper 80s all the way into the low 80s, from 89 degrees to 82 degrees within 2 days alone. But then high pressure starts creeping back in from the Pacific actually this time, and that's what's going to bring in some sunnier weather and 90s right around the corner as we kick off this weekend. So a cool down into the midweek forecast, a warm up into the weekend forecast for our inland spots. Now, you don't really notice it that much when it comes to our microclimates along the bay. We're dealing with different influences, and so really what we're just going to see is just upper 60s and lower 70s throughout most this week, with a little bit of a warm up diving into this weekend. Sunnier skies right around the corner by Friday. Over to you.
Well, a local tradition to help beat traffic and sky-high expense is making a comeback. Casual carpool officially returns tomorrow. So that's where strangers carpool across the Bay Bridge to save money and time. It's a practice that had come to an end during the pandemic, but as Amanda Harry reports, it is coming back.
A makeshift chalk sign lets people know casual carpool will be revived on Tuesday. Camille Bermudez has been working to relaunch the Bay Area tradition, one that she relied on before the pandemic halted it.
The ease of it, the flexibility of it, and honestly, the cost effectiveness of it.
Bermudez's first experience with casual carpool was as a teenager, but it started long before she ever got in line.
35 plus years ago, about maybe even longer, which is great.
Bermudez felt this was the perfect time to bring it back, as more companies are requiring people to return to the office. She herself has to be back in the office 5 days a week starting September 1st, so she reached out to the community online.
We started back on June 8th, starting with a survey and really using social media to get the word out there.
The response was strong, and she found this location in the Grand Lake neighborhood on the corner of Lake Park Avenue and Lakeshore Avenue was where people most wanted to use the service. After Tuesday, it will run Monday through Friday during carpool hours. The system is simple. Drivers stop by, pick up the first 2 people in line, enough to qualify for discounted tolls, and take the Bay Bridge to San Francisco, dropping off the people at the 400 block of Howard Street.
Drivers get the benefit of shorter commute, flexible timing as far as when they leave their home, as well as we do encourage a monetary contribution for the drivers to kind of help with that expense of the toll.
Bermudez says she used to use the system as both a driver and a passenger, and she always had a positive experience.
I actually ended up meeting an alumni from my high school, so St. Ignatius. I met somebody in the car, and we had started talking, are you from the Bay Area, are you a native? And they ended up saying, hey, I went to SI, and I also lit up.
And some other people have made friends, or even more significant relationships.
Very excitingly, we do have somebody who got married through casual carpool, and they are still together.
But she says most rides are uneventful, quiet, and an easy way to get into the city. She's hopeful that after launching with this one stop, they'll be able to expand to the 20+ locations that used to exist pre-pandemic.
Really excited to see this coming back. And then once we've got this location up and running, the plan is to get the Sacramento Street and the 64th and Christie Street in Emeryville locations up and operating within a month after this one has been operating. And then again, plan is to get all 20 back August 2026.
All right, so if you are trying to catch a ride, casual carpool operating weekdays from 5:30 to 10 a.m. More info can be found on their website. Now to a competition that proves that beauty or lack thereof is in the eye of the beholder. Petunia, you see there, a 2-year-old hairless French bulldog mix, took first place in the world's ugliest dog contest at the Sonoma County Fair over the weekend. That distinction came with a $5,000 prize and a spot on limited edition cans of mug root beer. The nearly 50-year-old event celebrates the unique charm of dogs of all shapes and sizes, many rescued from shelters or puppy mills. It's all about showing the world that every dog, no matter their looks, has a beauty all their own. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.